Hey, what's up, guys? Tukey here, back again with another episode of my Seattle Sonics My League Draft of Glory. There's never really a good title for it. That's been the running gag the whole series. What's going on, though? How the hell you doing? Today is a very big day for the Sonics because we will find out whether or not we are playoff bound in consecutive seasons. We made the playoffs last year for the very first time, only to be swept by LeBron James and the Lakers. The last thing LeBron did before retiring. Thanks a lot. The good thing is we are very much on pace to be a playoff team, a game and a half back of the Jazz in the Northwest Division as of the All-Star break. And for the most part, the team is still looking pretty good, although one thing I did want to mention, I did go through and set up player mentorships. We talked about whether or not we should do that last time. So we got Marsh training under Dourekas, Richie Davidson under Arnold, which, I mean, it really could have been any one of them. Nash under Bohannon, and Hopkins under Wesley, just to try and get Hopkins a badge because he doesn't have a single one. And McKinney under McDaniels, just to, again, kind of train up something. So we have that set up at the moment. For the most part, we are relatively healthy as well. Marsh out 2 to 4 weeks with a broken nose, although he can play through it. And Jesse McDaniels right now still recovering from that hairline fracture in his left arm. So overall, despite the fact that the last episode ended on a bit of a negative because we saw that Cameron Black has turned into a bit of a superstar for the Cavs after we traded him, the team is still looking good. The big three of Arnold, Bohannon, and Dourekas are still absolute monsters. Arnold and Bohannon both right now up for MVP nominations. We'll see whether or not that continues throughout the remainder of the season. The only thing we are going to be looking to change right now with this team is I think we're probably going to drop it down to a 9-man bench as opposed to 10. And we're going to try to sit, I'd say, Sparks and Nash. Of course, we saw that those two were two of the least efficient players that we happen to have on the squad right now. So it does make sense to change them out. So we'll do it that way. Hopkins still the 6th man. We should be good to go. Let's see what happens at the end of the All-Star break. I don't think we'll have anybody getting back to 100%. So we will pretty much be good to go. 2 games before the start of March. It's against the 76ers and the Kings. Let's see what we can do here. See if we can get this episode off to a hot start. And that's not ideal. We split the games. Hopkins goes down to a minor injury. We'll see if he's back to 100% before this game against Brooklyn. He is not. We end up beating Brooklyn, though, 125 to 106. I think we're just going to keep the team the same. Again, like I mentioned, as Hopkins is indeed back to 100%. Like I mentioned, this is going to be a playoff episode. No real way to drag out 2 months' worth of simming into a 20-minute episode. So we are going to find out today, first and foremost, if we're a playoff team. And then secondly, if we can finally find our first postseason win in this series, as sad as that is to say, and that injury right there could cost us decent enough playoff seeding. Irvin Bohannon out for a week or two with a twisted right knee. That is highly, highly unfortunate. It will result in him sitting, as Cato is going to slot in as the starting guard, which reason for that right now is that Davidson is struggling, so I don't entirely disagree with it. Sparks right now playing 2 with McDaniels not being 100%. I'm okay with that, actually. I'm going to bump up Wesley's minutes because of it. So I think we'll be sitting McDaniels, we'll be sitting Davidson with him struggling, and Bohannon will be taking a seat as well. So as a matter of fact, actually, we are going to drop Sparks' minutes a bit. We're going to drop Wesley's minutes as well, and Jackie Nash. And we are going to bump up Dourekas a bit. We're going to bump up McKinney quite a bit, actually. I think that'll be the one big change, is relying on McKinney here quite a bit. So we'll see what happens. The good thing is we have a decent little break here. We only have 1 game in the next week. It's against Detroit. We're on a nice little run of form here at the beginning of the month, and Jesse McDaniels is back to 100%, although I think he was already factoring into the lineup. I think he was the 7th option off the bench. Marsh is also fully healed. We'll still leave the rotation as is. We lose by 7 to Detroit. Not ideal. I actually want to take a look at the standings here after this game against Denver, in which we lost by 2. Yeah, let's stop the sim. Let's see where we are right now. I want to get a full look. So in the playoff picture right now, we are the 5th seed in the Western Conference. Not too shabby. 12 games left. We're a half a game back. So, I mean, the separation that you have between San Antonio and Dallas and everybody else is insurmountable at this point. But we could easily find ourselves as the 3 seed in the West. No doubt about it. That is still absolutely open. There's less than 3 game separation between Las Vegas and Sacramento at the 3 seed and the 8th seed. So it is still absolutely anybody's game, although decent amount of separation between Sacramento and Phoenix. So I think the 8 teams that are going to be playoff bound have already been decided. It's just a matter of the seeding at this point in time. So as far as the team setup is concerned, again, Bohannon is still out. Let's rebuild the rotation. It does put Bohannon back in, which is promising. Right now he's a -2, so he's relatively healthy. And at this point, let's go ahead. Jackie Nash is actually playing very well, which is a little bit surprising. Now, I definitely want to drop Bohannon's minutes, so we're going to go to at least a 10-man bench here and slightly drop those minutes. And I think what we're going to do, I kind of wanted to get Davidson back in the lineup, but with Jackie Nash playing well, he's earned that time. Let me take a look at Davidson. Still up at a 506. I'd still, I think, prefer Davidson to be in over Sparks, but I do also want to get... How's Cato doing? Yeah, Cato's too good to take out. I wanted to get Wesley into the lineup because he's also playing quite well as of late. So we'll factor that in. We'll get Wesley a little bit of time. It'll be Sparks and Davidson that end up taking a seat. Now, I've given Davidson as many chances as I think I reasonably can to try and prove that he's the guy who deserves a, normal bench spot, as we absolutely crush the Seals. And Bohannon is back to 100%. We beat Milwaukee as well for our 44th win of the season. St. Louis is 45 on that list. 91 team chemistry. 46 wins now on the year as we beat Portland, and our last game of March is a win against the Pelicans. So 47-28. We're on a pretty damn good hot streak here as well, heading towards the postseason. Let's get a full look at the standings yet again. We are playoff bound. That is confirmed. We will be in the postseason yet again. Back-to-back seasons. Of course, we made the playoffs last year for the first time, so it's a wonderful sight to see. And as it stands, we are currently the 3 seed, although we are deadlocked with Las Vegas, and Utah has a game at hand. So it is anybody's game right now. As I mentioned, still, for that 3rd spot, 7 games left, 8 for Utah and Golden State. Very much still up for grabs. Last year, we rested our starters heading into the postseason. This year, we cannot afford to do that. We need to win the Northwest Division. We need to make sure we have the best chance that we possibly have heading into the playoffs. So the team will remain the same, although we will double check. And indeed, Wesley still deserves that playing time. He's still doing quite well. Murray Hopkins actually playing well as of late. I still think, though, we're going to keep the minute spread the same. I think we're good. I'm taking a look here. So suggested for 28 minutes for Marsh. He's getting 29. Only difference is that McKinney could get a little bit more time. But I think for now, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Leave it as is. We only have 7 games left this season, and we will try to make the most of it. Well, let's do it. Let's go for the first 3. Huge game against Portland to start. Let's see what we can do. It is another win, 108-75. Dominant performance. Game against Charlotte as well. Looking for win number 49 on the season. We get it, but Terrell Arnold goes down to injury. A sprained left wrist. Now, he will be healthy for the start of the season, or for the start of the postseason, I should say. But that is a very unfortunate injury, and honestly scares me to now have to play Bohannon and Dourekas. It's the reason why we sat our starters last year, and it's the reason why I still would really prefer to start them now, or to sit them now, and at least have them on reduced minutes. Oh boy, that's rough. I think at the very least the bench depth needs to be bolstered. We'll be playing everybody but Hunt, and I am so tempted to lower the minutes of Dourekas, Marsh, and Bohannon, McKinney as well. I don't know if we will. I mean, technically the minutes have been lowered with us getting the extra player in on the bench, so hopefully that'll be good enough. Davidson, though. I don't know if I want Davidson to be the starting point guard. That's a little bit rough. Now, ideally, he would be the guy. I think he's really one of the few that we have set up as a backup point guard. And he is. I mean, it's his role. We'll see what he can do. He's missed out on some time. I mean, the good thing is we're looking good right now because of the amount of wins we've racked up lately. We'll be looking for our 50th win of the season here against the Sharks. And we get it, still in convincing fashion. 13-point win, despite not having Arnold. We beat the Pelicans by 9 for our 51st win of the season. We play Indiana, a gigantic game against Utah, depending on how they've done lately. And then we end the season against Toronto. Let's take a look one more time at the standings. We are still neck and neck with Utah. Vegas is not out of it either. One of these three teams will finish as the third seed in the West. In between us and Utah, it's anybody's division to take. We have to win. There's no doubt about it. Of course, this team will still be trying to put the best team out there that we can, with the exception of Arnold, while still trying to be a little bit conservative with the minutes that we're handing out. We start off against Indy, in desperate need of a win, and we get it 104-92. I guess the question right now is whether or not Utah has played sense, but regardless, we need a win here. This might as well be a playoff game. They're on 52 wins as well. We get the win, and that should do it. Huge 9-point victory over the Jazz. That should be enough, even off of tiebreaker, to hand us the division. It is not. It is still not enough. That is surprising. Let me take a look here. So they have a better home record. Conference record, we have one more win. Division record is dead even. I'm not sure what the other tiebreaker would be at that point, but the bottom line is, as long as we win this final game of the season against the Raptors and keep this winning streak going, we hit 54 wins on the year. The Raptors are not a playoff team by any stretch of the imagination. We hit 54 wins. We are division champs. Will that be the case? Can we beat the Raps? We actually, oh my God. Oh no. Oh no. That didn't just happen. We lost, and Dourekas goes down with an MCL strain. Is this team cursed? Is this team cursed? Darrell Arnold wins league MVP. Now is not the time, man. 53 wins. I don't know if we won the division because we lost to the Raptors. I think we have the Jazz beat on tiebreaker. Hell, they might have lost as well. 94 team chemistry. Darrell Arnold wins MVP, which is fucking tremendous. And I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, point per game isn't the biggest deciding factor, obviously. You know, it's a bit hit or miss in terms of how often the leader in point per game actually ends up winning MVP. It's not all that frequent. At least it's not like the sole deciding factor. And Bohannon finished 4th, or it was at least 4th in point per game. Would have technically been 5th. But, I mean, there's no doubt about it. Darrell Arnold deserved league MVP. Rookie of the Year, Lamont Boone of the Miami Heat. Which, in fairness, I mean, we really didn't have anybody that would have been up there in voting. Sixth Man of the Year, Christian Slater, the actor, for the Aces, ends up winning that. Can't totally disagree with it, I suppose. Defensive Player of the Year, Emmanuel Terry. Most Improved, Christian Slater. Coach of the Year, Owen Cooper in Dallas. So Darrell Arnold wins MVP. He is on the All-NBA first team, as you would have expected, alongside Vitaly Kiba and Nelson Fletcher as computer-generated players. All second team, Bohannon makes it, no real surprise. Nobody on the third team. All defensive team, nobody there whatsoever. And then the all rookie team, Nobody there, but a tremendous season for Darrell Arnold. And we end up with the 4th seed. Huh. It's really weird how it's showing Cleveland as a 13. Confused over that. But I believe we won the division. If I'm not mistaken, we did. Or at the very least, yeah, I mean, technically we won, right? Based off of, it would have to, wouldn't it not be based off a conference record? So I'm pretty sure we won the division, or there was some sort of fucking tie that I'm unaware of. But it was still a tremendous season for us. We technically did finish as the 3rd best team in the West, which is very promising. And of course, Vegas fell a little bit off the trail at that point. Power rankings wise, we're 3rd on NBA. 2K has us at 8. Mark Spears has us at 3. So a little bit of disrespect there from 2K. I wanted to, of course, recap the season and talk about everything that happened, and of course showcase here are all the stats and all this, but there has been a devastating change of plans. Had we rested our starters, there's no doubt in my mind that we would have not won the division. We would have been passed by Utah. But as a result, even with some players getting a little bit more playing time due to an extended bench, Dourekas is going to be out for at least the first 2 rounds, which again is absolutely devastating now. In terms of offensive efficiency, he dropped off a bit this year, but it's not as if he still isn't an absolute monster for us. He is one of the reasons why this team is as good as this team is, and now it's going to be up to the likes of Hopkins and Byron Wesley to make this work. And I don't know if we're going to be able to, not to mention Darrell Arnold, who is just about back to 100%. He's currently listed as day-to-day, but what a devastating turn of events that is. That is absolutely insane. Regular season stats, I mean, you would have seen that, yeah, Arnold, I mean, obviously deserved it. Just in terms of, I want to look at team stats, actually. So, I mean, point per game, we have the top offense in the league, which isn't surprising. Point allowed per game, though, we have the 2nd worst defense. So, you could argue what changes should be made there, but the top offense, the 2nd worst defense, we probably shouldn't be as good as we are. But it is still an 8.3 differential, which is hilarious because our offense is just that freaking good. But that is maybe something we should be a tad bit concerned about heading into the postseason. Our defensive rebounds are at least where you'd prefer them to be, all things considered. Player stats for the year. Let's take a look. So we have, I didn't want to sort that by home, thank you. So again, Arnold, 27 points per game. I mean, almost 8 assists per game. He's just a beast. Bohannon, over 22 points a game on average. And then Dourekas is our third highest scorer. 16 points a game, 10 rebounds a game. He's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks. And that could absolutely cripple our chance to get out of the first round. AJ Marsh, I mean, in terms of who joins Arnold and Bohannon as the top, in the top 3 in terms of offensive focus, maybe it is Sean McKinney over Marsh. I'm not sure. I mean, McKinney is more of an offensive-oriented option. You look at Hopkins as well. I mean, we might even be looking at a change of systems with Hopkins being a little bit more focused, a little bit more defensive, more of a rebounder. I think the way this team is set up, I mean, again, you could tell by the player setups too, we are set up to be a bit of an offensive force. It's not really surprising, I would say, that defensively we have struggled the way that we have. But as far as what we look to do now heading into the postseason, that's a huge question. Absolutely huge, especially too if we want to shorten the bench up to, say, 8 people, get Arnold and Bohannon up to 40 minutes a game, 42 minutes a game. Dourekas, I mean, there's no way I'd play him at a 78. I mean, he could technically play through the injury, but I wouldn't want him to do that unless it was completely necessary. and it's not. Like, that's just not a risk worth taking. So whether or not we would want Wesley as the sixth man, the bottom line is between Marsh, Hopkins, and Wesley, those three have to carry the weight. And I'm just not sure if they can. And then if we take a look, now Torres and Baker have been called up from the G League. Neither will be playing, of course, although Torres looks to be at a half-decent overall now. Richie Davidson was given quite a few opportunities this year. Unfortunately, from an offensive standpoint, he dropped off a bit this year. And if we look at Cato, I mean, 13% on proficiency, true shooting is much higher. I think we'd have to go with Cato over Davidson, at the very least. And then for Jackie Nash, he's not getting any playtime either. And yeah, obviously I'd go with Cato over him. And Sparks, I mean, Sparks is the interesting one because of his defensive ability. But I think we roll with Cato over Sparks. And I think we go with the 8 of Arnold, Bohannon, McDaniels, Marsh, Hopkins, Wesley, McKinney, and Cato. I think those are the guys to help get the job done. I don't know if I trust Sparks, Nash, and Davidson, and with Dourekas not being 100%, like I said, I think that's kind of the way to do it. You could argue McKinney, of course, being listed as a sixth man, even if it's somewhat irrelevant, I would say. I mean, between McDaniels and McKinney, McDaniels at a 12, a 10, and a 5.31. McKinney at a 12, 11, and a 5.99. I'd probably play McKinney over McDaniels, to be honest. I think that is the best 5 that we could send out there to start a game. Maybe have McDaniels as the 6th. Wesley, of course, will need quite a bit of time, as will Cato. And, I mean, like I said, it's a completely different offense now that Murray Hopkins is the guy down low. I mean, it has completely changed the complexion of this team. There's no doubt about it. So as far as the minute spread, I mean, we could change up whatever we wanted to, whether or not Hopkins and Marsh should have that much time. Maybe McKinney gets it dropped a little bit, bump up Cato to like 10 minutes or whatever. Let me know what you think. I think, again, with those 8, that's who I trust, but let me know what you think as far as the minute spread heading into the playoffs, which I certainly want your opinion now heading into this. Obviously, with the coaching setup, I mean, we still run the 7-second offense. I don't think that should necessarily change, but obviously now, who is this third option? Is it McKinney? Is it Marsh? I don't necessarily think we would want to play through Hopkins. I mean, from an offensive standpoint, McKinney nearly at a 600 for true shooting. I mean, he stepped up in a big-time way this year. I'd say it would have to be McKinney as that third option, I would think. And then again, you look at the setups. I mean, in terms of rebounding as well, the good thing is Murray Hopkins is a bit more heavy of a rebounder than Dourekas. But like I mentioned, especially too if we look at system proficiency, Hopkins not very well suited for what we do, but obviously Bohannon and Arnold absolutely are. The only other 4-star that we have, and in fairness, we actually don't have one. We did have other 4-star options with Dourekas, but with Hopkins there now, we don't have one. The only other option would be, a perimeter centric, which doesn't really work. It's not that much well suited for Hopkins. Pace and space could work. It makes Hopkins just a little bit better. That might not be the worst way to go. Or we go to a balanced set. So it's pretty much the question of, do we stay in the 7-second offense, or do we switch to something that helps Murray Hopkins be a little bit more adaptable and succeed a little bit more? The good thing is, regardless of what we run, McKinney can kind of blend in at least, but Murray Hopkins is very much, that much more of a defensive option. He doesn't have the offensive abilities of Dourekas. So do we change up the game plan and our strategy to make it a little bit more easier on Murray and to make him fit within the system that much better? Because let's be honest, with Arnold and Bohannon, they can do whatever we need them to do. I mean, we have the league MVP on our team, and he's not even the highest overall player on the team right now. That it would be one Irvin Bohannon. These two guys are going to carry the weight regardless, and regardless of the strategy, they're going to be able to do well. It's just, what do we do to make sure that everybody else has a chance to succeed? I trust McKinney over McDaniels. I still trust Marsh and Hopkins to be able to get the job done. Byron Wesley having to play a little bit more is a little bit scary, but I think we can do this. And I guess the argument, too, over whether or not Sparks and Nash should be on the bench as defensive options, maybe even Davidson should be on, as opposed to Cato, although Cato's been better this season. I mean, but again, Nash and Sparks as defensive options, maybe they should be on the bench. There's so many different ways we could set it up. I want to hear from you guys what you think before we play Cleveland in the first round. Now, again, I'm not entirely sure. Something must have changed with the playoffs, right? I think someone mentioned that in the comments about there was something that was voted through. And that's the only thing that makes sense, is that something changed with the playoffs that I just did not notice whatsoever. Because obviously, and I now caught on what's up with the 13, the playoffs are seeded 1 through 16. I'm not sure if I accidentally voted this through or if I failed to veto this. But the playoffs have been reseeded. Top team in the league, and then the 16th team in general makes it. So that is why it is a mix of Eastern and Western Conference, which I'm not sure if that helps us at all or not. We were the 4th seed in all of the NBA, so we're taking on the 13 seed in Cleveland in the first round. What has this become? I don't know. I don't know at this point. We are going to end things for now, though, because damn it, I want to know from you guys, what do we do? What do we do with the rotation? What do we do with the team systems? What the hell happened to the playoff seeding? We're playing Cleveland in the first round. And left Harris Dourekas is hurt. It's, at the very least, you can't say this hasn't been interesting for the spin the wheel, see what the hell happened next, see what the hell happens next approach that this has turned into.